All right, now we're going to work on lesson 12-1, analyzing line plots. And remember, when you see that word line plot, you're going to see a line. So there's going to be some kind of a number line shown with a bunch of little dots at the top above it. Those are the plots or the items. Several students were asked how many blocks they walk from home to school each day. The results are shown in the line plot below. How many students were asked the question? Use the line plot to solve the problem. You have to realize that each person has one response. So your question was, how many students were asked? So we've got all this data here. Each person had one response. So basically you can add up the dots, and we've got, let's see, for one block, we have 4 kids. 2 blocks, we have 5 kids. 3 blocks, we have 5 kids. 4 blocks, we have 8 kids. 5 blocks, 2 kids. And then our outlier, there's 1 kid all the way over here at 7 blocks. An outlier is the number that falls outside of all the data. So when we add all that together, we're going to get 25 students in all. And what can you tell about the distance most of the students in the group walk to school each day? And this is interpreting our line plot. So what is the most frequent number of blocks a student walks? That will be the number that has the most set of data. So we would say that would be 4. Let's see if I can. Here we go, 4. There's my new little tools we have here. Kind of annoying. And let's see. So we get some of these other cool things. And the least amount would be 7 blocks over here on the edge. Can't get that to work. All right. Let's move forward. How can you analyze data displayed in a line plot? Analyze is when you take the data and you try to make some judgments. Looking at the data, you make some statements. A line plot or dot plot shows data along a number line. Each dot or X represents the value in the data set. In science class, Abby and her classmates performed an experiment in which they used different amounts of vinegar. The table below shows how much vinegar each person used. A line plot shows how often each value occurs. So right now, this is just a data table. So what we have right here is just your basic data table. And yeah, it's not being cooperative with me. All right, so we have our basic data table here. And it's kind of disorganized. And what we'll do with the line plot is we're going to organize that data. So when we take a look at it, we can stack it up. And I really strongly suggest when you create a line plot, you actually cross off as you go. So I would say, okay, 1/2. There's 1. How many other 1/2s are there? Cross out the next one. 2. Make sure you get them all crossed off so that you have all the data represented in your line plot. Just a good strategy. And the outlier, remember, is the outside data, the data that falls way outside of the rest of the data. Sometimes there is an outlier to data, sometimes there isn't. And how does the line plot show which amount of vinegar was used most often? So you're going to see whatever value is shown most often, so it would be 1 cup. You can look at the height of the dots, the number of dots. On the next page, unguided practice. Okay, of course we're having technical issues. On the next page, Just do a little refresh here. There we go. On the next page, we have our guided practice. What is an outlier in a set of data? Remember, the outlier is the value. It is the value that is very different. I'd say it's like way out, an outside value. In the line plot on the previous page, do any values occur the same number of times? Sure, there's a couple that occur the same number of times. Yes. 1/2 and 1 and 1/2 occur the same number of times. Both have values with 2 dots in them. So they both have 2 values. So in statistics, we would call that a mode when something occurs most often. Well, actually, that doesn't really fit on this. Scratch that. Mode is most often. So I'm not looking at the data, but the data from the chart before, the mode would be, the most often would be 1. So 1 would be the mode, the most often. Sorry for that. Describe any patterns in the line plot on the previous page. You can describe, like, most of the dots are between 1/2 and 1 and 1/2. You can say, we're looking for patterns anytime something repeats. Number 4, Mr. Rice's students ran a 40-yard dash in the following times and seconds. How many race times are recorded? So for that, we would just count up how many data points we have here. And so we count, and it's 16 altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And use the line plot that shows the data, which time occurred most often. Again, most often is our mode. We're looking for the mode, the most often. That's a middle school word, but in elementary school we call it most often. But the mode, the most often, is 7.1 seconds. So you're basically going to answer some questions like that looking at the data. And there we go.